Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Ranting Shop. Again, it's me, Melissa, and I'm back to talk to you guys about Put a Ring on It, season 3 or 4. I think this is episode 4. Let's get right into things. I'm sorry for my late review, but I was really busy today. Okay, you guys, let's see. So first of all, we left off with the couples in the lounge talking about their various experiences. And firstly, I'm going to speak about Otis and Charlie. Then I'm going to speak about Kenneth and Shorty. And lastly, I'm going to speak about Alfonso and Shay. So for Otis and Charlie, they're at the deliberation and Otis decides to not go on a second date with the same lady. They both went on dates in this particular episode. He wants to take control, he says, but Charlie wants to be an equal partner and submissive. So he's confused. He's like, do you want to be submissive? Or do you want to be an equal partner? Because Otis is very old school and his way of being a husband or being in a relationship is to be the lead. The lead means it almost seems like he wants to be a ruler. He wants to rule her as well. And sometimes it seems like she's for it and sometimes she's against it. He considered going to see her. Okay, so I was speaking about Charlie's date. So Charlie went on a date, and the person he went on a date with, she is a DJ. And just based on their interaction, she was all googly-eyed with her long lashes, batting her lashes at him. She's looking at him. And of course, people would say that Otis is an attractive man, and of course, just based on physical attraction, she likes him already and invites him to her show. And he actually considers it, but then says he can't go in respect for his relationship. But it looked like he really did want to go regardless. She's clearly interested in him, as I said. She mentioned his girlfriend being lucky, while the girlfriend is really living a complete nightmare with this man. That's why we need to date. That's why dating is so crucial, because if we didn't get the opportunity to date and we were just married off to whoever we found, initially, if you got married to, like, let's say a conventionally attractive man, you'd feel like you were so lucky because he's attractive. But there's more to an individual than his looks. There's personality, there's values. Do they align? If not, the person could look as beautiful as a diamond and the relationship still would not be able to survive off that alone. Okay, so you could tell that this woman is kind of young, the way she was so enamored with Otis. I mean, to me, a grown, more mature woman would not let that faze her. Yes, it's not to say she wouldn't be attracted, but she wouldn't be so googly-eyed. Like, she'd be more digging for more, like, depth as opposed to just this surface situation. I said all that glitters is not gold, which is so true. He clearly goes on another date with her, because we see her in the previews with her back tattoos exposed. He was very vague about his date when he got back home. He thinks Charlie will get upset, but the name of the game is transparency. Lack thereof will only lead to more distrust, and that's what you need the most in this process. We learned at the end that Charlie feels like there is a double standard when it comes to the boundaries they put in place for dates. She feels scolded by him, and instead of addressing his approach, he throws blame on her about how he makes her feel. He's sickening, and this man doesn't seem like he's ready to take accountability for his actions. He's the type of guy that doesn't think he does anything wrong. And so when you put the microscope, or I should say, when you put the mirror up at him and you show him what he's doing wrong, his response is to take it as if you're criticizing his entire being. When you're just looking at his actions and how it affects others. And you'd find people like that are very combative, and it's very easy for them to put up a defensive wall, but it's just better for people to understand that sometimes the people are not necessarily attacking you. You're looking at your actions and realizing that it may not be the most beneficial. And the more receptive one is to constructive criticism, the better it is for that person to internalize and really fix their own flaws as opposed to projecting it on other people. And that is exactly what Otis was doing. Poor Charlie. Sometimes I feel like she really enjoys how jealous Otis seems to get. It really, like, she has so much fun with that. And I feel like it's because she likes, I guess, for him to feel like he's not the only one. There could be others that could come and scoop me away, and she enjoys that feeling. I didn't write notes on Charlie's date, but Charlie's date was awesome. Her date was really good. You noticed that Otis was very respectful. He went to the door, greeted the ex. There was no hostility. There was no pettiness. Introduced them, as opposed to the first date when they were leaning into like shake each other's hands. He like literally pulled her hand away. But in this situation, it seemed like he was more understanding, I guess, of the process. And he was basically just giving them a little pep talk. According to him, he felt as if that particular date was different from the first one. I guess because that one is more put together, I suppose. So maybe he has more respect for this particular one. They went on the date. Come to find out, Charlie's really attracted to him, and she likes the fact that he's an intellectual and he wants to get into politics and these things. So I think she will potentially go on a second date with him. I really think so. So yeah, let's move on to Kenneth and Shorty. Now, Kenneth decided not to go on a second date with the individual he was on the first date with. He was too distraught over the conflict he had with Shorty. Kenneth feels like Shorty belittles him. Any disagreement they have, he feels like she cuts him to his core. It seems like she just, to me, wants a way out of this relationship, and it's just really difficult for her to get out. She went on the second date with Hollywood, and we learned that Kenneth, one time, I guess they had broken up, and he pulled up to her new house, and instead of seeing it as a red flag, she listened to her friends that were telling her, oh, when I broke up with my man, he didn't even try to chase me. He didn't even care. And because they were telling her this, she's thinking she has it good. And she's thinking that him going to search for her or pull up at her house was a sign that he really wanted her and he really wanted this relationship, when what it really was this man has some serious issues with letting go, and he has a serious issue with recognizing when someone has had enough, because it seems like unless he's the one that's had enough, nothing is happening, nothing is gonna change, nothing is gonna end. So that's actually really scary, and that's really not a good thing. I don't know why sometimes women allow their female friends to make them feel like toxic things that their partners do are actually signs of love. This is not a sign of love. It's a sign of somebody that has a serious attachment issue. This is a situation where it almost seems like this man has an anxious attachment style, where when he feels like the person is leaving or is gonna leave him, he gets desperate and he does drastic things, and that is very scary. So we definitely see that Shorty is attracted to Hollywood, and I feel like she's gonna go on another date with him. And when I was listening to her viewpoint on Kenneth taking the process more seriously, it just seems to me like a woman that wants him to find somebody else so he can leave her the hell alone. I feel like Shorty has had it with this man and she wants to leave, and the reason why she joined the process was for her to find an easy way out. If I see that they end up proposing to each other in the end and she accepts it, I'm going to be very surprised. I feel like this woman wants an out, and she's tried before. He's coerced her back into the relationship. So I feel like she thinks, okay, let me get him to get interest in another woman so that he could leave me alone. Kenneth goes on a date, and guess who Kenneth ends up going on a date with? That is a woman that worked with Shorty before, and that is absolutely insane. That's how you know that this show is messy. They know that Shorty works in radio, and so they got somebody that worked in radio too. So they're purposely looking for dates that competes with that person's current partner, so that it makes it difficult for that person to choose between their partner and that person because they're so similar. So it turns out that this is the first time I've actually seen that a date knows the spouse or the partner. So Kenneth trying to figure out how the woman knows Shorty, and Shorty explains to us that the lady used to be an intern, and so Shorty used to teach her about radio and whatever, and now she's going on a date with Shorty's man. And I feel like that woman was being very playful, but almost in a way to say that I can take your man to Shorty. And when they did go out on a date, it also seemed like she was competing to have the man, to get the man from Shorty, which is crazy because you'd think that for someone you've worked with in the past, you'd have some level of respect for them. But she was very open to the fact that she was very competitive and wanted to compete with Shorty for her own man. Do I feel like Kenneth is that interested in her? Not really. But do I think he's gonna go on a second date with her? Maybe. Will it shift the boat or stir the boat or rock the boat? Potentially, considering how close they are and the history they've had. So yes. Anyways, you guys, let's go into another relationship. That's Alfonso and Shay. So the energy wasn't there, is what Alfonso said about the date with Chantel, and so he's not gonna be going on another date with her. He doesn't know, well, Shay doesn't know if she'll loosen the rings on her man. But what she doesn't understand is that he can do what he wants. That is a grown man. You cannot control this man. He makes you feel as if you can, but no matter how many houses you pop up at, no matter how much fighting you do, no matter how much phones of his that you check, no matter how many times you confront him, this man is gonna do what he wants to do. And people have to, especially people in relationships, they need to understand that you don't own that person. That person is that person. You own yourself. You can control only yourself. You can't control people. And it just seems so pathetic how Shay tries to control this man. So very pathetic. So it turns out that Dr. Nicole goes to visit them, and in the very beginning of their relationship, we learned that Alfonso was juggling multiple women, including Shay. And it just so happens that she stayed through it, and is dealing now with the insecurities attached to wanting a husband out of a known player. And he lazily resolves that he's a nice man and ladies are going to flock towards him. But as Dr. Nicole said, what are you going to do to ensure that your relationship is protected? He seemed absolutely clueless. I understand with the nature of his job, he interacts with a lot of attractive women, but that doesn't mean that there cannot be boundaries in place to make sure that your relationship is secure. He acts as if there's no such word as boundary, and he cannot help what happens to him. That is a way of absolving yourself of accountability. And if that's the attitude that you're gonna have, I'm not seeing the point of being in a relationship, to be honest. I don't think he takes her feelings or this process seriously. And during the entire interview that they had with Dr. Nicole, he kept licking his lips. So either he was parched, nervous, or just full of straight, unadulterated ish. And to be honest with you, I feel like at this particular point, Mr. Alfonso is not taking Shay very seriously. But which man would take you seriously if in the beginning of the relationship, you stayed while he was juggling you and multiple women? Now that you're the only one, or you think you're the only one, you think you've won something, when really what it is that all you've won is the insecurities and negativity attached to his past behavior. That's what you've won, and you can't even handle it. It's crazy. Next episode, we're gonna see Shay getting to an altercation with Mr. Alfonso's date. We're gonna see how that goes. It doesn't look like it's gonna go very well. It looks like it's gonna be a plate throwing, water throwing, food throwing, wine throwing debacle, and I can't wait to see it, to be honest. So you guys, that's what I have for all three couples. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and see you next time for another review from the Renting Shop with me, Melissa. Like, subscribe. Bye.